it's Austin here. Me and Chaston will be interviewing Miss McFarland, who is the 7th and 8th grade science teacher. And we'll be asking her a few questions about this horrible disease, cancer. What kind of cancer do you have?
I have ovarian cancer. I was diagnosed in August of 2014, just a couple weeks after school had started, and so I've been battling it ever since.
Okay, so how long have you been battling this horrible sickness?
It's been a little over 2 years, so about 2 years and 3 months. And when I was first diagnosed, I had surgery totally unrelated to it, and I thought, oh, I'll be back to school in 6 weeks. And it was during that surgery that they discovered that I had stage 3 ovarian cancer. And I started chemo about 2 or 3 weeks later, and that lasted for 6 rounds of treatment, and then I did a year of some maintenance treatment, and then last spring it came back, and I just had started then again on treatment, and had what I hope would be my last treatment last week, but I don't know for sure yet, so I can't really celebrate until I know that everything's good to go.
Alright, so I remember last year you telling the class that you would get nosebleeds. Like, what are some things that happen, like, if you have cancer, like
the side effects?
Yeah,
okay.
side effects.
Well, I mean, obviously, for every form of cancer, there are different side effects based on before people are even diagnosed, and those are, warning signs for you to get medical treatment and see what's going on, and never to ignore anything. And I think with this particular form of cancer, the symptoms are just normal, everyday symptoms that a lot of women deal with, and so it wasn't anything that was like standing right out to let me know that, hey, something's wrong. But when you're going through chemo, I think this is probably part of why you're wondering about the nosebleeds.
Yeah.
There are very rare and odd things that happen to people when they do chemo and have different forms of chemotherapy, and for me, I actually developed a hole through my nose, and I was having nosebleeds daily, and with chemotherapy, if you get a cut, it's really difficult for you to stop bleeding. So sometimes it would take me 40-45 minutes to get a nosebleed to stop.
Wow.
And it's kind of scary, because you don't want to get cut and that kind of thing, and because you're not sure, if you're going to be able to get it to stop right away. And so that was just a fluke thing that happened, but other people have, other major side effects from it. One for me, besides that, was neuropathy, which I still go through, which is a numbness in your hands and in your feet. And it's kind of like when it's cold outside and your hands are super, super cold, and you feel like you have frostbite.
Like you can't really move them.
Yeah, and you can't really, and your fingers hurt. Well, that's how my fingers and my toes feel almost all the time. I have to take medication now because of it. And it makes it difficult for you to actually walk, so you have to really be conscious about every step that you take and that kind of thing.
So, I know that it's your last chemo treatment and might be your last chemo treatment. Could you explain, what is chemotherapy?
Chemotherapy, some people can take it in a pill form, and some people have it through an IV, and I actually have a port, which it's right here, and I have a scar from it. And if you were to touch it, it feels like a plastic bottle cap under the skin, and it doesn't hurt to touch it. And they actually put the IV right through there, and when you start, they give you anti-allergy medications, so that way if you're going to have an allergic reaction, they can help prevent that right away. And it makes you really drowsy, and you sleep for most of your treatment. A typical treatment in the beginning, it would last anywhere from 8 to 10 hours for me. And recently, these past 8 treatments that I've had have only lasted about 6 hours. And it still seems like a long time, but compared to in the beginning, it's not. But you're there the whole day, and you sleep for most of it. And you don't really have much of an appetite. The very next day you'll feel pretty decent because they give you steroids too, and you'll feel like you have a burst of energy, but then the following day you're out. And there's a lot of nausea and different smells of things bother you, so things that you like the smell of before, you can't stand now, and you have to stay away from those things for a few days. And foods taste different. Certain chemo drugs will actually change the taste of your food, and mine actually make everything have a metal taste to it.
Really?
Yeah, it's really, really gross. So and then you have to use like plastic utensils also to try and help avoid that. And so like pop doesn't taste the same anymore. Pop actually tastes flat. All pop tastes flat.
Wow.
It's really kind of weird. And the only thing that is the same is chocolate. So that's kind of a perk from it, is that that's the only thing that doesn't change. But you can't like live fully on chocolate, or I guess you could try, but it wouldn't be that good for you. But no, it's like other side effects, besides food tasting odd, there's also something called chemo brain. And I describe it as if I were to have Alzheimer's, I think that this is what it would be like. You forget daily things, and this is just with certain drugs. Now, the most recent, I don't have as much of that, but just a little bit. So that's part of the reason why I had to stay home from work, because I really couldn't function mentally with what I needed to do on a day-to-day basis. And I would have to put Post-it notes all around my house just to remember things. And one time I actually got lost driving my car, and I was lost for like 30 minutes in an area that I grew up in that area and that kind of thing. So, and it was kind of scary. So, and it's only like about a week or two after you have treatment that would occur, and then it would get better, and then it would be time to have treatment again, and it would start all over again.
So what makes you most happiest in the hard time of having cancer?
Well, initially, of course, you get the first shock of it, and then you're thinking, oh, I'm going to die. And then you start getting some of your questions answered by the doctors. And I think it helps being a science teacher, because I knew a lot about genetics going into it, and I could ask and understand what the doctors were telling me. But it really allowed me to reevaluate what was most important in my life. And I was busy all the time, and I had to learn to say, okay, I have to slow down, I have to say no about certain things, and I have to start asking for help, because I was always the one to help other people and never ask for help, and it was really hard for me to say, help me. And then I realized, I do need help, and I can't battle this on my own, and I need help with my children, and getting them to dance and their different activities with school and that kind of thing. And it's, brought me closer with my husband and my children, and, my church, and made me really think about what was most important in my life. And, besides my family and my church, is also my job. And I knew that I had to get back to teaching, because that was my sanity. I needed to be here because I worried about what was happening and going on in my classroom, and was everybody learning what they needed to learn, and I was missing it. And and I think about that daily, even with still going to treatment and being home for a few days and coming back. And it is what I need to be doing, and my purpose for everything is, to be a teacher. And, I always think about like the nurses and the doctors at the treatment center, and they're happy. They seem happy all the time. They're probably not, because everybody has, things in their lives that are bothering them from time to time. But to me, I feel like they have a horrible job, because they, have these patients, and they all, everybody's there for cancer treatment, and some look very sickly, and but the staff there, they are fantastic. They have smiles on their faces. You never see them roll their eyes or sigh deeply like they're annoyed. And and I'm just like, they are perfect for their job. And so I think about that when I come here, and I might hear kids or other adults complain about things, and I'm like, really, it's not that bad. And in the grand scheme of life. And so I feel like, all right, even with my own personal issues going on, when I step into the classroom, everything else is left outside that door, and we're here to learn.
All right, well, thank you. This has been Austin and Chaston from J. Crew News. Until next time, see ya.
See ya.
Bye.